I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. Geordies here, Geordies there. Tonight joined by George, Kevin, Steve, Stu and Steve, who are all beaming, it's got to be said, after last night's winners. I'm sure everybody is at home as well. Newcastle United through to the Carabao Cup final, the League Cup final, first time since 1976, and a trip to the Twin Towers beckons on the 26th of February. George, yeah, it's great. And
Yeah.
George, what a feeling, mate. What a feeling.
Absolutely. I was trying to think last night when I last felt like that, and it has to be, 76 at least, but even further back, it was the kind of feeling I can remember in the house when my father went to the three finals in the 50s, absolute elation around the place. And it was that kind of feeling last night. And even though they kept one tenterhooks towards the end, the eased, for some reason, they eased off in the second half, and it almost let Southampton back in. But no, it was great, and great that a local lad comes to the fore just when he's getting lots of criticism, and scores two super goals. And he'd obviously been listening to Shea Given, but I think he'd been listening to us on here, because I was saying about the first leg, if they'd stunned the ball instead of slashing it, they wouldn't have gone over the bar. Well, Sean Longstaff twice stunned the ball last night, like he should have done, and got two lovely goals. So that was great as well. Another thing for me was that, well, certainly some of you will know that from the day the draw was made, I was concerned about the ability of Adams and Armstrong together to cause us trouble. And so when they weren't in the team in the first leg, I was delighted. But when they came on, they made an impact. Well, they made an impact again last night. And Adams scored a beautiful goal. He's a dangerous player. I've liked what I've seen of him when he plays for Scotland. The other side of it is that towards the end, when Adam Armstrong could have made it 2-2, he showed exactly why he's not a Newcastle United player now. Because he needed two touches when a really good striker would have volleyed it in straight away. He wouldn't have needed two touches. So all of that, coming out, added to it. And then Bruno's sending off. I mean, it was predictable almost. Referee let Southampton kick him every opportunity they got, and eventually he just got frustrated and went in a bit too hard. So, one of those things, and all adds to the equation of excitement in my view. And to be able to say I'm supporting a team that's going to Wembley to a cup final again is just unbelievable. I mean, this will be my 76th year or 77th year as a supporter of Newcastle United. So it is really important to me. And Steve, before I go on, can I just finally say to everybody, and I won't say it again, this is the last time, thank you for your support over the last few months. For me and Neil, and yes, on Monday when it was the funeral, and thanks to all the lads that turned up, and I have appreciated that. It has been important to us. So thank you, everybody. As I say, I won't go there again. Thank you all very much. It's been very, very nice to receive your help.
Top man, George. Kevin, wow, there we go. A year and a bit after the takeover, Newcastle struggling rock bottom, looking as if they're going to go down. Absolute misery going to St James's Park week in, week out. And now here we are going to our first cup final since 1999.
Exactly. And just follow on what George said, it was reminiscent of a generational gap of 24 years. When the final whistle blew, I came into my kitchen where I'm sitting now, and I just was streaming in tears, but it wasn't sad tears. It was happy tears to say we've actually made it. And I've mentioned on this show before, I lost my dad 5 years ago. It'll be 6 years in the summer. So that was my introduction to football, essentially, going on the away days and things like that. So it was just like full circle, essentially, for me. But yeah, I thought it was, I mean, I said on Monday that any way will do, just get through the game, and we've done it. And couldn't be prouder of the staff, the Eddie Howe, the management team behind the scenes, the players, everybody involved, just to get there. You know, we made the dance, and let's go and have a good party and have a good dance and say what we can do and lift it and bring a trophy home.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, you know, George touched on it as well. Just great to see Sean Longstaff not getting one goal, but getting two. And I think we'd said on the fans forum, I think a lot of people were saying, let's hope, you know, he spent the last week, you know, having a bit of shooting practice, and he certainly put it in, you know, just simplified it, didn't he? Just simplified it, rolled it into the net, that first goal.
It's just basic technique. It was just, like George said, it was just simple, it was basic. And I think the conversations that he's had with the greatest Premier League goal scorer ever might have a little thing in the back of his mind of how to strike a ball. You know, it's not rocket science. Just get the ball on target, and then anything can happen from then. He'd done that really well. He could have had a hat-trick, but that one with his left foot just, I mean, it was an opportunistic one, instinctive one, but it just slid past the post. But yeah, overall, it was a great night for the lad, a local lad putting us through to the final.
Steve, it was great, wasn't it, Steve Hasty, to be at St James's Park yesterday. I mean, we managed to have a catch-up as well beforehand, me, you, Mitch, Keith Patterson. Great, real, you know, great to catch up and be with mates on a day like that. Whether it's with mates or with family, it's just, you know, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Everybody united.
That's right. The build-up was fantastic, wasn't it? It was great to just sit and just sort of kind of chill out, relax, but also get that nervous energy out of the way with the conversation where we could all sort of get our exasperations out, get our hopes and expectations on the table, and it was great. I mean, let's face it, anyone who 12 months ago would have said, as a Newcastle fan, I think we're going to be in a cup final in 12 months' time, would have only been saying it after about 12 pints, wouldn't they? You know, they wouldn't have been saying it genuinely as something that they believed. But the way that the team's moved on in that 12 months has been fantastic. What Eddie Howe's done, the way the team's been playing, the brand of football that they're pulling together, the way that the team and the supporters and the backroom staff and everybody is pulling in the same direction with a big smile on our face, and we saw more of that last night. But I mean, we've got to say that there were times last night. I thought we played in the second half the worst football we've played for quite a while. I thought the performance was very cagey. We can go into that later, I'm sure, if anybody wants us to explain it. But you know, at the end of the day, it was the second half, wasn't it, of a game where we were already leading 1-0 when we turned up. And the team did the business. Longstaff scored 2 great goals. First half performance railroaded them. They didn't know what had hit them in the first 10 minutes. And Wembley, here we come.
Yeah, Barry Hogan says, I'm disappointed, mind. I honestly believe the club wouldn't allow players to leave without a replacement. Wood, no replacement. Gordon's a bonus. Shelvey, no replacement. Now Bruno missing for 3 games. We'll come to that, mate. Stu, keep the positivity going. Great performance. And I guess it was a penman over the course of 2 games.
Yeah, I should get half the odds for that, shouldn't I? No, it's incredible the fact that we're in the final, and deservedly so as well. We've beat three Premier League teams on the way there, so we haven't had the look of the draw as sometimes we've been accused of in the past. We've earned our place in the final, and they've grafted to get there, and it's just fantastic for everyone supporting the club and everyone associated with the club that on the 26th of February there's going to be a Geordie invasion in the northwest part of London, and I'll be part of it. I'm sure most people here on the screen will be as well. You know, and I thought it was pretty apt on the day that it was announced that Shelvey was leaving, that it was Longstaff that took this centre stage. You know, the way he's blossomed, and he's right. Some people at Champs tell he's never hid. He showed a fantastic attitude, hasn't he? And he's just got his head down, which he should be doing when he's shooting George, isn't it? Getting your head down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he got it, but he's had his head down and he's grafted, and there's just rewards, as they say. But unfortunately, I wasn't even jealous that I wasn't at the game and yous were. You know, I was actually proud. You know, that I could see my friends were there, and it was just one of those sitting watching it. It's really, really hard to explain because I was nervous. And I'm 3,500 miles away, so for sure the guys in the stadium would have been man girls. You could sense of the nerves cascading down from the terraces onto the pitch, especially in the second half, because they blitzed them in the first half, and it wouldn't be Newcastle without being Newcastle 3-0 up, cruising it. And then even within going in injury time, we're still sweating it, you know, we're down to 10 men in there on the attack. But it was never in doubt after all of that. We can all be relaxed, and it's just amazing. The only downside of it all was Bruno's red card. And there's debates for, was it a red card, was it not? It was a red card, but should it be a 1 game or 3 game? And we can't just keep pointing the fingers at, oh, look, this happened at that game and that happened in that match for Liverpool. It doesn't matter. It was us, and so we have to deal with it. We don't get anything back for Liverpool's misery. We're going to the final. We're still only lost once all season. And you know what? We're going to Wembley with a very realistic chance of being able to actually win and lift the pot. And even in the 2 finals back in the late 90s, we went there in hope rather than expectation, where now we've got a lot more than a puncher's chance. We've got a real good chance of breaking the hoodoo and getting that monkey off the back. And I can't wait. I really can't wait.
Yeah, and you pointed that out as well, but somebody else has just said in the chat, don't forget last time we went to cup finals, we were playing teams at the top of their game, going for trebles and doubles. So this time, it looks like, unless there's a crazy result tonight, that we'll be playing Manchester United, who we've already played this season at their ground and come away with a 0-0 draw. So nothing to be feared this time round. Steve Wilkinson, great again last night. Although you did get a little wet.
Yeah, wet at the front of the East Stand. That's it. But it's still worth it to be there. And it was a nervy game, particularly in the second half. But I had to keep reminding myself that we were 2 ahead, and we've never let 2 goals in at home since Man City game, which is months ago. It's not even last month or anything. It's September, isn't it, when we played Man City? So I always felt we would, come through all right. And so in some ways, the away leg won us the game, keep giving us that extra goal. Overall, though, I think, we saw, and we're going to have to see that the other players, which we already knew that had talent, people like Longstaff and Joe Linton, adding that bit extra in the next few weeks while Bruno's off, because I hope that we can go to Wembley still unbeaten. I would like to see that we can get through these next 3 games without losing again, and go to Wembley on a high. Just a note last night, which I thought was a clever move. Maybe I don't know whether it was deliberate or not, bringing Anderson on in the last few minutes just to make him part of it, because I think that showed that even though he hasn't come on recently times, I thought it was a clever move by Eddie Howe, if that was what he did, just to give him 2 minutes just to savour that full-time whistle and get the atmosphere of it. And he could well have a part to play. He's not been sent out on loan, as a lot of people thought he might have done. It is a big squad, and I think the welcome that the 2 new lads got at the beginning of the game, Gordon and what do you call him, Harris? Isn't it? No, I forgot Harris. They're going to really want to be getting stuck in and getting amongst it soon. So all bodes well, and I'm looking forward to Saturday and beyond.
Yeah, I'll stay with you, Steve, and just talk about the players coming onto the pitch last night. We saw our 2 new signings, the young Ashby and Anthony and Anthony Gordon as well. Yep. But we also saw John Joe Shelvey come on in a strange, a strange goodbye ceremony, which I'm trying to think if anybody other than Kevin Keegan, maybe he's in his farewell game, has actually had the opportunity to come and say goodbye to everybody. Testimonials are a kind of thing that you do, but yeah, rather strange. That took me by surprise.
Yeah, maybe he had a helicopter planned. It was just the rain stopped it. That was what happened. But his statement that he's put out as well is I don't know if he ever really put that across, but he's shown in that how much he's taken to the area, and that should be a lesson for anybody that's coming in. We saw that clips about the video that they showed Gordon on the weekend, that this is Newcastle, and I think getting messages like ex-players like Shelvey, not necessarily the big stars that we know about, the past Keegans and all that sort of thing, and Shearers, but to the players who have grafted, particularly in the last 7 years while he's been here, that it's been awful times, but for him to, in that period, relate to the area and the people around here is got to bode well for messages to anybody coming in the future, that this is a place to be. Apart from the fact that there's great opportunities to be successful in the next few years, it's a great place to live, and we know that because we're from here. But it's I think that was a great message from him, and it was a fitting departure for him to go away out on the last day in a game where he in one way he would say, well, I could have been on the bench at Wembley if he got fit in the next few weeks, particularly with Bruno leaving, and it must have been hurting him in two different ways to think, well, okay, I've got a future to come to with Forest, and hopefully he'll survive and they'll survive and stay up in the Premier League. But it was nice to see him go. I've been mixed on Shelvey over the years. I think he certainly helped us at certain times and with some of his long balls, but I don't think he fitted Eddie Howe's style. And I think we're seeing now that he's going to pace. And one of the things you saw last night is, we changed the team with half an hour left and bring 3 greyhounds on, and teams aren't going to be able to handle that sort of approach after we've blitzed them in the first half, and then we'll bring another 3 on the second half who are fresh and with legs to run up, and as the 3 of them came on last night.
Yep, Stu, an emotional night for John Joe Shelvey. Chris Wood was there as well. I guess even when players leave Newcastle, they still want to be part of it. I mean, Shelvey's kids are Geordies, and in essence, he says they'll always, he'll always have, an eye on Newcastle United's results. He'll always be a fan of the club. It was quite an emotional outpouring.
I'm sure these £10 million he's going to get for the next 2.5 years will help soften the blow for him to leave. So, no, I think it's more testament to Eddie Howe for allowing that and bringing him in, because the team ethic is huge with Newcastle, isn't it? So allowing Shelvey that opportunity, and even for him being the photograph after the game, because he has been a big part of the squad. Yeah. I think it's just little touches like that show or set us apart to other teams, and the spirit is huge there. So from Shelvey's point of view, I'm sure he is looking at it thinking, I could have been on the bench for Wembley, or I could have had another game, but he has to look after me. I'm sure he's financially rich enough anyway, but long term he's got to look after his family, and he's offered a cracking deal from Forest, so you can understand him going. The timing, I think he would have liked to have went maybe a month later, but that's how the transfer window works. But he's also realistic enough to know that Newcastle's going to a level that he's not capable of reaching, and it's better to leave on partially his terms than be shown the door. So at least that way he goes away with his head held high, and his legs. Steve's just said, I haven't been a great admirer of Shelvey over the years for about 70% of his games, but those 30% he's made a big difference, and he has been committed to us, and he has stuck by us when others wouldn't, when we got relegated, etc. And he goes, I think, with everyone's best wishes. So that's him on, and we've got someone else now in Anthony Gordon to come in. I'm sure he's not the same position, but I'm sure he had a taste of it last night. He said himself in one of his interviews, didn't he, that the atmosphere in the ground's great when he was coming to play against Newcastle. But I think from what I could hear on the TV last night, I think he must have seen it at a different level again last night. and that's got to excite anyone. You know, the unity from the fans to the players to the management to the board, we are as one. And when you're as strong as that, you know, it does take some beating, and this is how to keep churning the performances out. So, Chris Woods, best of luck. Joe Shelvey, best of luck. Carl Donald, best of luck. Thank you all for your service. You know, they've played well for us at many times, but we have better players, and we'll have better players coming in now as well. And that's the way we have to look at it. We have to take the sentiment out of it now.
Yeah. Don't forget, you can ask George a question tonight. Get them into the chat, and we'll come to them in the second half of the show. Steve, the departure of Shelvey, you know, and the emotional farewell that he was allowed to give is one thing. But Anthony Gordon, of course, and young Harrison Ashby coming onto the pitch as well. I mean, just reading their social media posts, they were blown away. I mean, Anthony Gordon hasn't kicked the ball in anger yet, and he's already got his own song.
That's right, yeah. It's great, isn't it? But this is the evolving Newcastle United, isn't it? This is what we're going to be seeing over the next few years. You know, everybody has their day, everybody has their time in the black and white shirt, and then they move on. We've got to look at John Joe, and he had his critics, but I think even his critics would have listened to his words and went, you know what? That was decent. They're nice words. He hasn't gone away with a flea in his ear or anything like that. And he showed a lot of respect to his teammates. He's showed a lot of respect to his coach and to the club itself, and to us as fans. Whenever he's worn the black and white shirt, you know, it may not have come over to some people like that, but it showed that he played with passion, and he felt as though that he was always putting his best in. So that's great. But yeah, Anthony Gordon, he now has to take up the mantle. I wonder whether he'll play on Saturday. I suspect he will. There was a few injuries, and obviously we've got the situation with Bruno not being available. Isak went off with a concussion. Will the SM get an opportunity now to blossom between now and the cup final and lay down a marker? He didn't do much when he came on, but now's his opportunity. If he gets it, that he's going to have to grasp with both hands. Because I think the team, as I said in the second half, I thought looked jaded. I thought they played a little bit casual at times. I thought that the pressure got to them. And we seem to, obviously, we were soaking in the pressure. But I think we were quite surprised by conceding the goal, to be perfectly honest. I think it took us a while to get round to that idea that, Christ, we do let goals in. You know, what the hell's going on? We thought we were immortal. Eddie,
it was like one of those pauses, Steve, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean,
even on the TV, you could say everyone just like, what's happened there? That shouldn't happen. That was it.
The Southampton fans didn't it? It was
not
like
in the script.
Yeah,
no, it certainly wasn't.
Yeah, but I mean, this is you know, it just made for a very, very difficult sort of last 20-25 minutes. But I thought at no time did that pressure that we're seeing on the pitch come into the crowd. And obviously it helped that we had a 2-goal advantage, and it was a carnival atmosphere. But we didn't suddenly have the boo boys, you know, complaining because passes were going astray or anything like that. So that was the positive side of it, I suppose. If you're gonna have a little bit of a dodgy spell, have it when you're 2-0 up. Oh, when you've got a 2-goal advantage.
Yep, Kevin, good to see, you know, the club, you know, again, just having that little bit of extra class, you know what I mean, in the departure of Shelvey, but also just the way that they conduct, you know, the business these days. I mean, Anthony Gordon, the footage that we saw of him being shown around the club and being, you know, we touched on it the other night, but watching videos and stuff about the area, and it's just refreshing, isn't it?
It is, and you again took the words right out of my mouth. A bit of touch of class from all the way around, from the club, from the player. As the lads have mentioned, it's just one of those ones. It's a nice goodbye, and thank you for everything that you've done for us for the 7 years that you've been around the club. Going to the Gordon and Ashby one, it looked like Ashby didn't want to be there, but it was like a bit overawed by the presence of another player around. I'm not saying it's all about him or whatever, but the humble as footballers, from what you hear in the media outlets and whatever, they come across as two good signings, which are obviously what we look for. But again, it was a bit from watching it from afar, it was a bit yeah, it's all about you, mate, but I'll just stand here and walk along beside you type of thing. But it was, but that was nice to see, you know, just again, I was expecting them to go out and be presented to the fans before the game, which would give the fans another lift. But yeah, again, it's just like Stu said, thank you to John Joe Shelvey, Caldalo, and Chris Wood, and those who've left the club. Those are going to be permanent deals. Those are going to be on a loan deal, or whatever that the situations are for each 10 individual players. So hopefully they can conduct themselves well and represent what they've learned here at the club and take their respective clubs further forward, you know. And so, but again, the analogy is, you know, there's no sentiment in football, right? But last night showed there was a little bit of that, in which was again where we are. Not just, others have said, we're not just going to kick you out the back door and say thanks very much, and we'll never don't want anything to do with you anymore, or your family, or your future in the game. So again, there was a little bit of sentimentality last night, Barry, which was just that little touch of class, what we are now showing to new players and old players who are no longer required.
Yeah, I did love that comment from Geordie Tune for Life. Where is it? I saved it. He says, when Southampton scored, I thought my telly was on the blink. I love that kind of humour. You
were looking like waiting for some way of getting it. Like we had the double penalty from Mitrovic, and we had the handball last week. You were looking, but was he offside? You know, when he 25 yards out, he wasn't. You know?
I wish you'd shoot like that for Scotland, I tell you.
George, it was an amazing gesture on behalf of the club to allow Shelvey to say goodbye. I mean, I can't wait till Jeff Hendrick does it.
Yeah, well, yes. I don't think he might get the same reception, but that's another issue. Yeah, I mean, but it's all conducted so professionally, isn't it? It's not random. It's organised very professionally in a way which has never happened. I mean, when you and I talk about those were the days sometimes, when I look at the way some players who did well for our club were virtually shunned out of the door, you know, shamed out of the door, and certainly not welcomed in the way those other two lads were. Get them on the pitch to say hello was unusual. But of course, a lot of them were signed overnight. You know, you didn't even know they were coming. So that was a bit of sentimentality, but it was organised and very professional. And I did like the fact that they included Shelvey in the dressing room picture. Yeah. I mean, that was a touch of class. The rest of the lads saying to him, well, you know, you may be going to Forest, but you're still one of us, buddy lad. And I just thought that was a lovely touch as well. And to have his family on the field, I mean, again, I can't remember somebody's little girls waving from the pitch to say bye-bye and all the rest of it. It was really, really a heartfelt moment. What it must have been like for John Joe Shelvey and his family must have been incredible. And he, as he was going off, he was shaking hands with the players that happened to be on the pitch warming up and all that sort of thing. Well, you know, no, that doesn't happen normally. But I'm convinced that was all handled very professionally by our club, and that's where we are at the moment. We're in some things we're a different class, you know, altogether. The other thing is that I noticed in the feed, I think it was Mark Byers commenting on Jacob Murphy, you know, on for 5 minutes, and he was laughing his head out of being substituted and actually clapping and wishing Elliot Anderson all the best. Well, I happened to be lucky enough to see what Eddie Howe said about that when he was questioned about it by the Sky reporters. And Eddie Howe said, well, that's the Jacob Murphy we love. Great character. He knew what we wanted to do, and he accepted it, and he showed that he accepted it with his reaction. And you know, you get those insights from Eddie Howe and his team that we would never get before at all from anybody. I mean, the clown we had before just looking to blame somebody, and he probably would have blamed Jacob Murphy, you know. So it all adds up to a very, very professional group of people running things at the club at the moment, and I rejoice in that. It really is something to behold. Are we going to talk about the window after, Steve? Or...
Well, we will do, yeah. Buck Tizer says, it made me laugh last night when Trips told the ball boy along the east stand to calm down when he tried to throw the ball back in the
game. That was right in front. That was right in front of where I was sitting. It was quite strange because he told him to do that to start with, and then seconds later, he realised the referee was probably going to jump on him.
Nick Pope as well was doing it behind the goal, the Gallagher, telling the young ball boy not to be too quick, and telling the fans to keep a hold of the ball, which was funny. Geordie Toomba Life says, Stu, when Scotland score, I know my telly is on the brink.
No need for that. No need for that. I tell you what, the Murphy sub though is because he was on the further side of the pitch and it takes him longer to come off.
Longer to get off,
30 seconds. So it's again good game management, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good game.
And the other thing about Jacob Murphy that Mark said he didn't do anything. He did. He blocked a cannonball shot, which could have easily been a problem for Nick Pope. And he took it full on without flinching. And I thought, wow, there's somebody laying his body on the line for the club.
Yeah. So. Okay. Halfway through the show, time for the ads. Big shout out to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can contact them at info@mrvickies.co.uk or by calling 01768 210 102. Big thanks to Blowhole Brewery, a new beer company set up, brewed on the River Tyne. blowholebrewery.co.uk. And thanks to United Group Travel, UK Coach Holidays, based in Morpeth. Contact them on 01670 362 460 or 07957 141 654. Graham, your driver, Beverly answering your calls and looking after you on your tour. Thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wales and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. Thanks to Media Arts for all the video content. If you want to subscribe to the channel, then hit the subscribe button underneath this video on the right-hand side. Click the thumb up to like the video and click share to share to your social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and the rest. We also support the food bank on this channel. Click NUFCfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a virtual donation today. We've got a few events coming up over the next couple of weeks and months. Friday the 24th of February, Tyneside Irish Centre, an evening with Steve Howie. Tickets are available from NUFCmatters.com at the reduced price of £15. An evening with Nobby Solano, entry only, £15. Entry with a signed print, £20. Book your tickets for that for the 25th of March at the Tyneside Irish Centre from NUFCmatters.com. And an evening with Frank Clark, Thursday the 20th of April at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets are £15 for that as well. Book at NUFCmatters.com. The Flash Gordon t-shirts are now available on the website, priced $19.99. Go to NUFCmatters.com. And if you want to get a free car sticker, then email John at NUFCmatters.com and he will post you one out. Okay, as always, we have a few regular slots on our shows, and it's a while since we've had one of these, but I've had a little flurry of my first games. Okay, this one's from Rocky, and his first game was in Newcastle. It wasn't in America. Newcastle United versus West Ham, 15th of March, 1980. Anybody know the significance of that date?
Oh. Yeah.
You do?
Was that the one where there was problems with the fans?
Correct. My first June game was October 1980, versus West Ham. Went to Mark Tony first, and then the game was in the Paddock Old West Stand near the Leazes. It was some day. some idiot threw a petrol bomb into the Hammers fans. And there we have it, that rather unsavoury incident, which has gone down in folklore. But Newcastle United versus West Ham was Rocky's first game. So thanks for sharing that. And let's get back to getting them in. As I say, I've got a couple others that have come in this week, people suggesting first games. So if you've got one, send it to me or one of the lads on social media, and we will feature it. And it just gives us an opportunity to play that music, which I know gets on a few people's necks as well.
Forgot how loud it was.
It's you forgot how loud it was, exactly. Ask George. Barry Hogan says, ask George, who, in your opinion, is Newcastle's top keeper? I've always gone with Given. Who is your number one?
Changing.
Yeah. I mean, until this season, it would have been Given or Pav. But I've got to say, if Popey carries on the way he's playing, he's going to go out of sight even to those lads, because he's just magnificent. That's the only way to describe him. But I would toss up between Pav and Given for me. Pav was the more exotic. You know, Shea was straight-laced, and the plus for Shea was he had to work hard because he wasn't as big as normal keepers. I mean, Nick Pope's 6 foot odd. Shea's barely 6 foot, and still made a good job of it. So yeah, I'm hedging my bets, but it would have to be Shea or Pav is the top goalkeeper I've seen thus far. I mean, if you want to go right away back to the 50s, well, Ronnie Simpson, the cat, was superb. And again, only 5'10", not a big fella for a goalkeeper. In fact, that's why Charlie Minton got rid of him. He went on to play for Scotland again and win a European Cup winners' medal with Celtic. But Charlie Minton thought he was too little. Sticking in overall, you know, the time I've been going to matches, Pav and Shea would be in there for me.
And Charles says, where do you see us in 4 years' time, George?
Well, where I see if we keep going the way we are, we're going to be regulars in top 3, top 4, and fighting for and please goodness. Even fighting for the title at some stage within 4 years after the progress we've made, and they can keep it going. Sky's the limit, isn't it? And I think in 4 years it's not unrealistic to think that we're knocking on the door of the title and challenging.
Yeah, seems to be a lot of debate in the chat about whether Isak's was it a concussion injury or not? I think it was, which means he could be out. He will be out of the game of the weekend. And of course, Bruno suspension. A lot of people saying, would Newcastle appeal against the decision? Because this, if it was depending on what the red card was for, it can be a one match suspension or a 3 match suspension. But I think most people last night believed it was a 3 match suspension. So we'll wait and see. Is what we'll do on that. Couple of good questions in there as well. Mozza says, next thing will be debates about Wembley tickets. What's the panels and the chat's view on how it'll work? Well, George, I think the predecessor for this has always been that season ticket holders are first, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Season ticket holders and then everybody else afterwards. I mean, I've got to say that my view about tickets generally for these big matches is that the FA don't help. There's so many for this lot and so many for that lot, and if you've been secretary of the Northumberland FA for goodness knows how many years, you get a handful of tickets allegedly, that kind of thing. It's the FA just not thinking about the real fans, I think we'll end up with season ticket holders, and even then. Because there's not enough even for season ticket holders. There'll have to be some sort of ballot or some sort of way of looking at it. But it's not going to be easy for anybody. But ever was thus, I'm afraid. You see, it's not been that much different. not been that much different over the years. I mean, when I think about the way, I mean, my dad was looking to go to all the ones in the 50s, and he got his ticket through bloody Buckingham Palace. He happened to know somebody whose son worked in Buckingham Palace as a postilion, a horse rider, and he could get tickets for anybody he liked. And the manager of my dad's shop at the Slipway Engineering Company, Tommy Wright, the man was called, he always made sure my father got the chance of a ticket. It was sometimes a very expensive ticket because of where it come from. But he wouldn't have got a ticket in the normal way. I mean, I think I've said to people on here before that even for the cup matches, the normal rounds of the cup matches, and there was tickets, my mother and my granny and the aunties used to go and stand in the queue because the lads were at work. And then the lads came out to work, they swapped places with their wives and so on to get the ticket. It's always been an issue, and it'll remain an issue. And I would like the whole thing about tickets from the FA down overlooked at in a positive way towards fans rather than people who think they should be there and so on. It would be nice, but not a problem which I envy the club solving to the satisfactory of everybody. Sorry if that was a bit long, but
No. It was good tickets. Then Kevin, I mean, it's always going to be a problem, isn't it? Especially when you get to a cup final because there's never enough tickets to go around. But I can't see them doing anything different to what they've done in the past. Season ticket holders will still go first, and George says not everyone's going to be able to get one. Not every season ticket holder will get one, I don't think. Exactly,
and agree. And I'm a season ticket holder, even though I live here. I'm still got my 2 season tickets, so hopefully that's the way I think it goes. I'm a traditionalist in that sense. Season ticket holders go first, then if they don't get picked up, which they will, that's just how it goes, in my opinion, because you're stumping up your money and you're paying your money. Yes, people go to away games. That's fine. That's great. But I think it should be not a ballot essentially, but those who been season ticket holders the longest and things like that, those who put the hard yards in, essentially put money into the club because it's well hard-earned money. But yeah, so it's a difficult one. I feel I know from experience here in the United States with Darren Eales and how they approach it and what they do. It's a very different way of doing it through other Ticketmaster sites, etc. and whatever. I don't know if that's the road they're going to go down in the future. And there's a resale, how they do that over here. But yeah, for me, it's got to be, the season ticket holders first. But again, like George said, it's the corporate entities, Carabao, MITA, the local FAs, the grass sponsor, whoever it is, they will get priority within the Prawn Sandwich Brigade, as we call them. They'll get their priority, and so it is. Unfortunately, it is what it is. The essence of the FA Cup and the League Cup final is it's for the fans. It should be not 50-50. You're looking at whatever that 45 split. Give 10% to the corporate entities, and make it a bigger occasion for the 2 sets of fans. Whoever it is, it doesn't matter if it's a lower league club, it doesn't matter if it's us or whoever, a big Premier League team, it doesn't matter. It should be a fan fest of the celebration of a final of people going there versus just going down there to get hopefully a black market ticket. Then you've got a whole another can of worms, or just go down to London for the day or the weekend. So if you give more options to season ticket holders than in general sale or for the general public, then you'll cut all of that out, and it'll be more of a fair way to get people in the stand. But good luck, like George said, good luck whoever's in the ticketing department to get this sorted out. I know my mum already has been down knocking, banging on the door of Stephen Tickle in the ticket office just to get our names on the list. I should probably shout at him for saying that, but never mind. I don't really care.
I see we finally found George's YouTube name in the chat. JJ, he says, I think the ticket allocation should be over 60s first. George?
Yeah.
There's one vote for that.
Two.
Steve, You know, this is yeah, exactly. This is
Passes a letter, by the way.
this is going to be it's going to be the usual mayhem, isn't it? This ticket situation.
Yeah. I mean, we know what's going to happen, and there's, you know, not everybody's going to be happy. A lot of fans are going to miss out, a lot of supporters, but that's just the nature of cup finals. It's the nature of success. We had it in the 70s. I remember not going to the 74 cup final, my dad going, but then he redeemed it when he let us go to the 76 final with him, and I've been to every other final that we've had since. But it's the nature of cup finals, like I say, the nature of success. A lot of people going, it's an away game, so it should be going to the point holders. That doesn't matter, because the point holders have got season tickets anyway. That's how they get away tickets. You use your season ticket to buy an away ticket, and you get a point. So you don't need to go down that line. It's going to be season ticket holders first. 33,000. I think the word was, I don't know whether it's true, but you know, the figure that was always bandied around to me was that we had 28,000 season ticket holders. We seem to have this thing where it suddenly became, you know, people talking about there being 36,000 and 39,000 and all sorts. But I heard we had 28 under Ashley. It's not that long ago, but there was 1,000 came on sale, if you remember, at the start of the season. So if it's 28, we know that some's going to get siphoned off for the corporate area, you know, the corporate box people, and then obviously the sponsors, they're gonna have their dip in. But I'm sure that the likes of Darren Eales are going to be sitting down with his staff and going, you know what, we've got to make sure we get the vast bulk of our allocation out to the fans, because it's the fans that matter. And as was just said there earlier, it's the fans' competition. This is the People's Cup. It's always billed itself as that. You're absolutely right, and I think that's the essence of it, because the FA Cup is a 25-25, and then the other 50% gets spread around all of the clubs. Yes, there will be tickets that'll be flying around from, as I mentioned, I think on one of the shows last week, you know, Carabao bound to be running competitions, and we'll all be suddenly experts in the flavours of Carabao Fizzy Pop or whatever it is. But there'll be other corporate people companies will have tickets. I do know that we've looked at even the executive area in Wembley. You've got to buy an executive ticket first of all for $4,000 before you then get the opportunity to buy a ticket for 400. You know, it's mental, isn't it? But this is what you start to do, because as a football fan, you start to panic that you're not going to get a ticket. But we've just all got to sit tight, wait till the announcement's made, and then hope, if there are more than 28,000 season ticket holders, that we manage to be with the lucky ones, I suppose. And if we're not, we either risk going down and watch on the telly in a hotel or in a bar, or we stay at home and we cheer it from there. And I'm sure the atmosphere in town will be just as electric as it will be down there. Every bar on Tyneside and the surrounding areas are going to be chocker anyway. So, you know, no matter what happens, that's going to be a carnival Sunday.
Chipper says if tickets were allocated on dog lookalike, Steve Hasty gets one, hands down.
You know what? I was reading that and I was thinking I'm not going to respond because I know you're going to. I've tried to keep a straight face all the way through that.
Stu laughing. I read it and I had it follow Stu.
I was keeping a straight face until Stu started laughing.
He was doing his best Muttley there.
God, my voice is gone. Definitely not that cheap vodka. Stu. Tickets. I mean, people, Club Wembley, Steve saying £4,000 just to be a member of Club Wembley, and then you've got to buy the ticket.
I called for it last week, didn't I? The club need to be as transparent as possible, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And then at least everyone knows where they stand. They're not going to please everyone. I'm sure they're already aware of that. You know, the demand far outweighs the supply. And for sure, I still think there'll be a huge amount. There'll probably be just as many going down without tickets, and I hope of getting one, than those who actually do have tickets. But the one thing is it not the league, the football league, not the FA, that are running this competition?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, yeah.
Right. So, but you know, in days gone by, you know, I know things change and stuff like that. In days gone by, what used to happen was clubs would donate their allocation to the teams that were playing. And you don't hear about that anymore, do you?
No.
You know, it's like, why should like someone from Forest Green Rovers, for example, get a handful of tickets when there's genuine supporters not able to go? And sometimes that's where the semi-finals become better because it's a straight split in it. You get more of the fans in there, but it is football and finance unfortunately do mix. And the way I suggested it was, or the way I expect it to be, it'll be the corporates within the ground, the ones with executive boxes and the ones who sponsor them, they'll get an allocation of tickets, maybe 10 to 20 per box. And then the sponsors will get their own allocation as well. And then it should then be the ones who pay the most money. That doesn't make them better fans, but the club is a business. So the ones who have the platinum clubs, the 1892s, the ones who pay to go in the barracks and things like that, those people should, or whether they should or shouldn't, those people probably will get their first shot at tickets. And then from there, I think it should go on to the season ticket holders who have been at the League Cup games, because that's how, if I remember right, that's how it used to be. You used to get a ticket to prove that you'd been to the game.
Yeah.
And then you accumulate them that way. The problem that we've got with that is the last 2 or 3 games have all been sold out, haven't they? So you still can't give everyone a ticket that way. So
who went to Tranmere?
I tell you what's funny. You mentioned there that the sponsors will get a dib in as well. Yeah. Hey, thanks to Mike Ashley, we've got hardly any sponsors.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. No, we just have to just accept that not everyone. I mean, if you put a list on who wants to go, you get 250,000 people. People who want to go and would be willing to go. But the ones who have, when the old coin phrase, have done the hard yards. They've been through some terrible seasons, as we've talked about in the past, and other formats within this channel. But you have to just accept, if Newcastle win it, everyone wants to say I wish they were there, but they've won it. That's what we're waiting for. And I'm travelling from Bahrain, and I want a ticket. But so there'll be probably another 5 people on the same plane as me saying, I want a ticket. And those who are fortunate to get one, it will be like the golden ticket in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And those who have got spares, please just sell them for what you paid for them, and give the man a chance to get it. Yeah. And that's all it can be. I'll be in London anyway. Everything's all booked up. I am expecting to get a ticket because I do have some sort of a season ticket that I paid for, but obviously I can't use it by being here. So hopefully I do get there, but if not, I'm going to be in London anyway. I want to be there, and I will be there. It's all booked in. I'm going to be there. So then I can
there
from the Carabao Cup final.
Steve Wilkinson.
Well, this topic gives me a chance to raise the gripe that I've had for over 20 years since I got involved with Newcastle disabled supporters. That I'm not looking for one of 35,000. I'm looking for one of 310 tickets. Yes. The wheelchair spaces in Wembley.
Yeah.
Newcastle's got 234 wheelchair spaces, probably all of them season tickets. Old Trafford's got 251, so there's 585 people looking for 310 tickets. Now, I suspect that at both clubs, not everybody that's in a wheelchair can go to the match. I was certainly talking to a couple last night that, for practical reasons, they're not able to go. Fortunately, I am able to go. I was there the last time we've been there. But I'm in, I guess, with a ballot with everybody else, and the only loyalties I've got is really the home games and the cup games that I've been to over the last however many years. I don't get to very many away games because amongst the allocation that clubs have for away fans is a very small number, sometimes single figures at some of the grounds. So those that go regularly get the tickets. So it's prayer match time for me in the next few weeks. I'm just hopeful that I'll come out on top because I've been to a lot of home games, sort of most league and the cup matches over the last however many years. But it's a difficult one whether you're looking for 1 out of 310 or whether you're looking for 1 out of 35,000. People are going to be disappointed, and it's the luck of the draw. And I think hopefully we'll those that want a ticket can get one.
Yeah, Tune 2020 asked this earlier. Anyone on the panel remember 2 subs getting subbed in a game?
It's hardly ever been It's rarely a chance that there's been two could do
No.
because you only had three subs, didn't you? Well,
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
It's definitely a first. Definitely a first, I think that. John Mitchison, if you've watched the show over the last couple of weeks, I have mentioned this about Bruno walking red card. Last couple of games, he's lost the plot. Man, you will be aware of this in the final. Howe needs to have a word with him. It could cost us. I was talking about flailing arms, John, and a little bit too much passion. Mentioned it on a few shows over the last couple of weeks, and so it's proved. So hopefully, yes, he will have learned his lesson, and Howe will clamp down on that. And quick one for around the panel from Edward F. George, you first. Would you bring Lascelles on in the last minute of the final if we are winning, so the club captain lifts the trophy?
The sentiment, and that's not. I wouldn't go that far. Not if they're doing all right. We've learned some hard lessons about doing that. Remember Fulham? We were winning 4-0 until the manager suddenly decided to sub the back three or whatever he did, and suddenly Fulham were in the game again. And you wouldn't let that happen at Wembley? No, I mean, I like Jamal Lascelles. He's been a fantastic and is a good captain if you listen to the manager. But at Wembley at the end of the match, no, sorry.
I think they'll do a joint lift anyway, won't they?
Yeah, I'm going to say he'll get his hands on the cup anyway. Yeah, so
I don't think anybody agrees with bringing Lascelles on in the last minute for sentimentality.
He'll probably be booked by then anyway on the touchline.
Yeah,
I don't think even Lascelles would agree. He's that sort of bloke. He's not, I think if the manager turned around and go, I'm going to put you on for the last minute, he'd probably go, no, it's all right. The lads are doing all right. I think he's that sort of lad.
And this one, we'll go around with this one, George. Would you guys start with Wilson or Isaac on Saturday? Well, of course, if he's got concussion, he's not going to be able to play.
He's not going to play.
I've got to be honest. I said to me, my brother yesterday, I said if Wilson doesn't score tonight, I'd be very surprised if Howe doesn't make that change. But it's academic now. I think. I thought Wilson. I just didn't think Wilson was great again last night.
No, he wasn't. And the one disappointment from a management point of view that I had last night was that the referee had to go and tell our manager and assistant manager that Isaac had a head injury. Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought, why weren't they up for it? He got the ball full in his bloody face, and yet the referee had to go to the touchline and point to his head to get the trainers to go on to look at him, and that wasn't enjoyable, I must say, from a fan's point of view and somebody that's interested in these things. So I'd be very surprised if Isaac's allowed to play, because he was really out of it. I mean, you could see.
Yeah. No, he definitely was. But yeah, I as I say, that question's probably redundant now. Quick prediction then from you, George, for the game at the weekend against West Ham.
2-0 to us.
Yep. Kevin. Oh, you're on mute, Kev. Sorry, mate.
No, I watched them in the cup and they didn't look too clever. Even though they got away with one, I think, in playing Derby, I think 2-1 win.
Another goal let in.
Steve.
All right, Steve. I mean, come on.
I'll keep mine for Saturday. I'll keep mine for Friday, Steve.
Oh, no.
Go on then, Stu.
3-1.
3-1, and Steve Wilkinson.
Well, I'm going to say 0 for West Ham, because I'm sure after last night's debacle of letting the goal in, they'll be working on it the next few days to tighten the defence even more. So West Ham 0, but I'll go 3. I think we'll be wanting to build on that start we had last night, but carry it on and get 3.
Okay, PDK 9-0. He's going up.
One of these days.
Jordan says 0-0. Yeah, one of these days somebody will get it. All right, that's been a great show that I was flown over, as it always does. Thanks to everybody in the chat. I'm back 10 o'clock in the morning with Super Mac and Gibbo. But for now, thanks to Steve, thanks to Stu, thanks to Steve, thanks to Kevin, and thanks to George. Take care, lads. Good night.
Good night, lads. Thank you. Good to see you all.